I have The Foreigner, which stars Jackie Chan in probably his most dramatic role ever. And this happens in the first few minutes of the film, so I don't think it's really a spoiler. It's also in the trailers, but he plays Guan, who's been living in Ireland for years, and an explosion happens and it kills his daughter in Ireland.
Ooh.
And so it's the IRA that does it, and it's this question of is it like the new IRA? What's going on? And my note to myself within the first 15 minutes was like, oh my God, Jackie Chan has never made me so sad. He really went full dramatic role, like don't expect like Rush Hour or Shanghai Nights or any of that stuff out of this. Yeah, so Jackie Chan is really good in this. I don't think you're used to seeing this dramatic side of him, so it's very impressive. And I don't know if Western audiences also are familiar with this side of him, because in Hong Kong and China, he's in all these sort of series movies because he kind of produces and directs all of them himself, and so he has an empire there. But I think in the West, we're mostly used to kind of the action comedy stuff. So there's two kind of plots happening in this film. There's kind of an A plot and a B plot, and the B plot is all about Pierce Brosnan's character, and he plays a former IRA member who turns British government official. And so Jackie Chan's character goes on this hunt for justice, and he wants answers, and it kind of leads him to meeting Pierce Brosnan's character. Okay. So, you've got this whole Jackie Chan I don't want to say what he is in it because it kind of reveals.
Is he?
Is
he a spy?
He has like a dark past that would explain why he has all of these skills. We'll go with that. Okay. And so then Pierce Brosnan at the same time is leading this kind of like the IRA is having their own internal politicking, and you're like, is it a new upstart branch? Like, who did this?
Is this currently the IRA?
This is set today. This is set in like modern day. Right. So it's like, the IRA hasn't been active. And it was an interesting choice to set it with that group as like the villains in quotes, because one, you have an Asian star, so you're not gonna have Asian villains. Probably not gonna have Russians. So it was an interesting juxtaposition to have an Asian main character and white people be the bad guys, which was kind of great for me to watch. I was like, yay, sure. Diversity. So again, the two kind of like interweave, but I have to say that the plot lines do stay kind of separate sometimes. Then it's like, and then we should also deal with Jackie Chan's character. Yeah. So they could have done a better job balancing that. I do have to say the director is Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye, which is one of my favorite James Bond films, and he directed Casino Royale. So he just directed two of my favorite James Bond films of the last however many years, and I think he does a really good job with these action dramatic stories. And so giving him Jackie Chan as like a star for it was an interesting choice, and I think it was smart to have him lead him through this, because otherwise in other hands, you're going to end up with Rush Hour meets an Irish accent or something strange like that. So the most interesting thing for me was it's a Jackie Chan film, but you don't see a fight for like 30 minutes. Like, I think he really wants to be taken seriously as an actor in the Western world's eyes, which I think this is a great vehicle for him.
Totally.
And they do a great job of building the plot, of explaining why he has all these skills, and the fights build, which sometimes, you see Jackie Chan jump into a fight and it's just Jackie Chan knows all the things. This is like, no, the fights get more and more aggressive and more, complex. And so I really enjoyed it.
I'd like to see him get his butt kicked a little bit too, because he's getting a little bit older.
That's the thing, right? So he plays an older character too, which is interesting. And this movie's rated R, and his character gets hurt. Like, his characters have gotten hurt in previous films, but you feel it. You feel like he is getting
it off.
Yeah, exactly. Usually he's like, and he's back. And no, this is like he gets progressively more and more injured as the film goes on, as one would if you were taking place over. Right. Yeah. So I thought it was very interesting. I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's a good action film. It's kind of a political thriller, but it's mostly an action film. So I'm gonna give it 3.7 out of 5.
And there you go. Boom. But you got another movie too, right?
Yes. I have The Florida Project, and I'm going to call it now. I'm marking this as my first Dark Horse Oscar contender of the year. I think this has definitely got a shot at least a few nominations, and we're starting pretty early because it's only October, and I feel like usually we start in like November. Yeah. So I think this and like Stronger are probably the two movies of the past few weeks that are going for Oscars.
Not Mother?
Getting out there early.
Not Mother?
I don't think the critical reception for Mother was quite there.
I'll get something for like sound or editing.
No,
I mean, it was a beautiful movie.
Mother will not. It will not.
I'm giving it my own Oscar, okay?
The Florida Project's from the same studio that did Moonlight, A24.
I was going to say, you called it last year with Moonlight.
I was just like, I got the same I got similar feelings watching this movie that I did Moonlight. It's not the same as Moonlight, but it's one of those things where I was like, I really appreciate that they pay so much attention to story and characters, and that they take these chances on films that they're about like the fringes of society, right? These aren't like mainstream characters. These aren't action movies, and these aren't stories about, the Boston bombings that we all knew about. These are stories that you would never know about unless somebody bothered to make a film about it. And it's from Sean Baker, who made Tangerine, which got all this buzz a couple of years ago, and it's known as the film that was shot completely on an iPhone, and it's on Netflix if you want to check it out. But it's actually, forget the technology part, it's a really good film. So he is back with, again, exploring kind of subcultures, and it takes place, the Florida Project takes place in the motel communities that sprung up outside of Disney World following the 2008 housing crash. So there are all these people who didn't have homes and basically moved into motels as permanent, they're semi-permanent residents, but they're not in the greatest places in their lives. And so, you're kind of there as a home, but you're kind of not, and you can move out at any point because you run out of money. Yeah. And so it should be a really sad thing, but it's about these kids who live there and their kids being kids. So it's got Willem Dafoe, who's amazing, and I think he's probably going to go get maybe a nom for supporting. And it's got two newcomers, Brooklyn Prince and Bria Vinaite, and she was cast off Instagram. And I'm like, is that the world we live in now, where people are cast off Instagram?
She's an Instagram influencer.
Right. And I don't even think she wasn't trying to be an actress, but the director found her, and he's talked a lot about that. And I was just like, man, that's crazy that's how you could get discovered these days. Yeah. But it was really interesting watching the mix. Like, Willem Dafoe is such an established actor and such a great actor with these people who have zero acting or minimal acting experience, and this is kind of their first big role. And I gotta say, it was just awesome. I think I've said before, I'm very hesitant watching films that rely on child actors because it can be grating and it can just be like saccharine sometimes. Yep. It's really tough. And I thought Brooklyn Prince was just amazing. Like, she's going places. She not carries this film, but she is such an important part of this film, and I was like enthralled watching her performance, and also just like watching the performance of like the nitty gritty of what was going on. And like, this movie is also going to break your heart a lot. It's going to break your heart a lot, but I think it's absolutely worth checking out. It's just like the nuances of this kind of society and culture that like we probably don't know a lot about because we don't live there. Hopefully we haven't experienced it. So I don't think it's done in a exploitative way. That's, I think, the most important thing for me. It's not exploitative. It's just sort of like exploratory. And so, yeah, I think it's super worth checking out. It's one of the best films I've seen in the second half of the year. I'm going to give it 4.7 out of 5. Yeah. Okay. I might be like jinxing it, but I hope I'm not. But I'm calling it now that I think it's going to go places.
All right, I'm going to see it.